Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Complete Guide to Map Making. I'm BonBonB and you're very welcome. Before we even begin to get started today, here's the biggest map saving tip I will give you in this entire series. Save regularly and often, and give each and every save a new numbered name, such as New Map 1, New Map 2, and so on. If anything does go badly wrong, you can always drop back to a previous point in the build without having to fix and rework absolutely everything. Better still, if you have the Move It mod, you can even export good areas of detailing from your failed map into your earlier restored version to save you even more time building them again. And so, in the first couple of episodes, we've planned out the rough design for our new map and made decisions on which theme we're going to use to make our creation really pop. In today's show, we're going to look at the two main ways of constructing your map, those being via Heightmaps or working completely freehand. Freehand is probably the way which we all started, using the map editor tools to handcraft every single hill and valley, cliff and plain, and it is intensely satisfying to know you have built everything by yourself. The thing is, neither you nor I are Mother Nature. At least I don't think so. We could easily draw out a winding river, but when you look at it from above, it'll probably look like someone has drawn what they think a river should look like, and not how one would actually evolve. There are subtle mathematical formulas at play which help to shape our world into our real world, and not some alien planetoid, such as the scale of the width of the river against how much it should actually wind. All these rivers were drawn by hand, and as you can see, balancing the river width against the curvature isn't intuitive, and this is only the start. Even so, building your first map completely by hand is a great way of mastering the map editor tools, and as such is something I would highly recommend. I have an old and somewhat dated but still relevant terrain editor tutorial, along with a pretty good water tool tutorial, both of which I'll link into the description, and it will save me showing you all of the mechanical basics here. But if you're having trouble using either of these two tools, these are the places to start. Now, if you're playing with workshop contents, there are an ever-changing array of mods which can help in a multitude of ways. The workshop being the workshop, everything I list now could well be obsolete by the time this video is even released, let alone when you happen to find the video, but I'm going to gamble on a few anyway. It's your mission, if you choose to accept it, to make sure any of my current suggestions are still legitimate at your time in the future. For me, the safest bet is Map Editor Tunnel Enabler by Bloody Penguin. The mod has been around forever, so why wouldn't we use it? If you've ever wondered how some new workshop maps have tunnels already in place, when that's not possible in the map editor, well, then this is the reason. The mod works happily in the background and simply unlocks the ability to make tunnels in the map editor. Unlimited outside connections does exactly this. It enables you to have as many outside connections as you desire. Used carefully though, more entrances and exits can make for more dummy traffic. Sometimes simplicity is the way to go, but having the option to add an extra highway or train line might be essential for your well planned out map. Total Terrain Tool gives you a bunch of entire map options. Not one for the control freaks, this mod may however save your day if you've started building either too deep or too high and you need to shunt everything equally up or down a few meters. There's a whole bunch of other options, which means that the mod is well worth checking out. It will save someone's day, if not everyone's. Above all others, I'd recommend the Common Ground mod. For some reason, the editor renders all tiles like they were unlocked in the game engine, thus it makes it virtually impossible to know what the end result of your fine detailing or precision road laying will look like. Common Ground is a delight. Just subscribe and like it up. Take my word, as a fellow map maker, it's amazing. If you're playing vanilla, you'll have to accept that there are certain limitations, but a master painter can produce the finest quality even with classroom poster paints, or Crayola. don't be discouraged. There are many excellent 100% vanilla maps with limited connections and zero tunnels built 100% vanilla in the map editor. So that's basically Freehand covered. But what about height maps, and what even is a height map? Well, I've already briefly covered this earlier in the series, and I've also made an in-depth video on height maps, which I'll link to in the description. So go and watch that if you know nothing, and come back to this point. We will wait. Okay, now that lot have gone, let's carry on. The main benefit of a height map is that you are starting with a general shape which has been approved by Mother Nature. But that doesn't mean that this is the easy option. Far from it. Having a realistic canvas to build on is only the start. There's a lot of prep work to do first. Height maps vary wildly in quality, but usually an unworked map will have very obvious digitization. You'll probably want to use the softening tool across the entire map, maybe even using the Total Terrain tool mod mentioned earlier to do so. But there might be some rugged areas on your map which you prefer had a more pixelated base to work from, so hand smoothing would give you much more control by missing these areas. Once you have the height map base, you can really let your creativity go to town. You can make anything from subtle changes where you're effectively polishing the map to look as real as possible. You could make it more player friendly, perhaps widening rivers for more water flow, or providing a smoother, flatter land in the buildable areas. Or you can retool entire areas to make a more fantastical landscape. Have an idea? Feel free to go with the flow. This is your map, after all. Another thing to remember with height maps is that you can edit them before you even launch the game. If there are some mountains you'd like to include, but one is in Norway, one is in Peru, and another on Mars, there's nothing to stop you merging these together in an image editor and then producing something completely unique. If you've never edited an image before, there's plenty of free software available online and thousands upon thousands of tutorials too. I'm sure you'll work it out. Remember, no matter how you create your map, the original base design is everything. Having a polished height map can look amazing, but having a mountain in the middle of your map is possibly going to be a nightmare for future town planning. So you should now have a solid basic map shape, with any ugly lumps and bumps removed. There's just one more task at this point, and that is setting the map's sea level. And this isn't necessarily the real life sea level either. If you're focusing on, say, a lake in the Alps, the lake fill level might just be your sea level. But if you have a map where the river flows out from your lake, then your sea level will want to be lower than this, possibly lower than any of the land mesh of your map, so that all of the water is produced from your chosen spawn points. So, by now you should have a clean, well-planned terrain map, with any sea level water forming shorelines at your coasts and islands. Next episode we'll spend a little more time looking at the bigger lumps and bumps that some people like to call hills and mountains. To follow the series, make sure you've subscribed and hit the notification bell, because that's it from me today. Thanks for watching. I've been BonBonB, and you've been very, very welcome.